All right, we are live. Hi, Craig.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Oh man, really I just feel so blessed to be doing what I'm doing today and creating with different fathers.
Mm,
And so I want to share with you, Craig, because we didn't get to talk yet about it, is how this came about, right? So,
mhm.
so Nathan Benamos and I were talking about how we could acknowledge our fathers. And we thought that it would be really beautiful to acknowledge them in a public forum where the world could see our acknowledgement, because I think that would make a difference for them.
Awesome.
And then we realized we know some incredible people who are also fathers. And we thought it would be really special to have you share and with the world and share what it's been for you and all of that. So that's how this came about. And thank you for being willing to be here with us.
Appreciate the opportunity, my friend. Appreciate the opportunity.
So tell me, so how long have you been a father, Greg?
12 years will be 13 July. It's ridiculous.
July. Oh, his birthday's coming up then.
Yep. Yep.
Do
It's
you,
exciting.
does he does he
Different.
make a big deal out of his birthdays?
Well, he's been claiming preteen since he was probably 9 years old. So this is just for him a confirmation that he's becoming a teenager. When you're young, you try to get those age in. When you're old, you try to stop them, suppress them. So he's in the other side of it, which actually creates a nice view, as you're kind of like looking back and looking everywhere. Like, okay, there I was, here I am, and then being in the middle. So yeah, it's been pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So he's looking forward to this birthday then.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's already 13, by the way. And everything that he does, he's like 13. Like your birthday is when you're no. I'm already 13. I guess he goes based on how he feels. He's in the background. You can actually hear me talking about him, which is no surprise.
Oh, he's listening in on all this.
Yes, having just woken up. Yep.
What's his name for everybody?
Craig.
Not yours.
Craig.
I know. Just making sure it landed for everybody listening.
Yeah, I just thought the name was good to me and just wanted to pass it on. Anything good that I've discovered, that I've learned, my mission is to pass it on. I've always said, I don't, my mom mostly, not my dad, really tried to prepare me for a future that they thought would have been the future now. And I'm clear the future that I'm trying to have him prepared for is one that I have no idea what that looks like. And so I'm throwing spaghetti to the ceiling and hoping that somewhere in there'll be some fundamental pieces that will actually make the difference for him to navigate whatever that world is.
That's neat. So you kind of started answering kind of my next question on your own is, so was your father around for you when you were growing up?
No, like I knew him, of course, I saw him, lived mostly with my mom. My dad was a cop. And for a while, I've always tried to understand him. And I think at one point it was just like, you know what? I don't want to be like this guy when I grow up, right? And ultimately, in making peace with that, it was like, you know what? I'm like my dad. And I'm committed to be a better version of him, not to dishonor what he has done. But I think every dad's hope is that your kids will have a better future, be a better person than you have been, have different opportunities and create it that you've never had before. So it became honorable for me to see it in that way. And that really freed up the space because I spent so much time, that energy not wanting to be like that, I never get to discover the dad that I could be. And the moment I was no longer focused on that, then there was an opportunity to kind of look, okay, fine, what kind of relationship we want to create.
Man, it's so, you're making me think there, like, I resisted being like my father for so long as he like him. It prevented me from having a relationship with him.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And that's really neat that so you're able to really like take the good parts of him that you saw and embrace that.
Yeah. And that, I had the opportunity to plan most of my dad's funeral. right? And just talking to his friends, there's a lot of missing gaps that I didn't know. And as I got older, I realized that what I thought was seen through a kid's eye. As I got older and started having relationships, there was way more compassion that I could bring to that relationship than I ever could before. And that just really freed me up, freed him up, even though in my memory. And, just, yeah.
Hmm. Is there any memory of your father that stands out to you?
There are a couple that I keep on talking about. There's one where he told me that the world will never change for you.
Wow.
Best you adopt, right? And I remember he was not talking to me, but I could hear. He's like, you should be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove.
Wow.
Right. And, I just keep on almost like truing on those words, because as I get older, they have new meaning. It's like a gift I keep on giving. Yeah.
Those are, wow. You could you could create your whole life just on those two things, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have really used those, and those have served me a lot. It's a currency that my dad gave me that I keep on reinvesting. It's just everything.
Did you want to be, were you like, was it a plan for you to be a father?
Yeah, I've always wanted to be a dad. I'm the first of 4 kids, so I'm normally looking out for, taking care of, ensuring that everybody's taken care of, and really had a desire for that. Just didn't know when it was going to happen, right? So yeah.
So wait, and then when it happened, was it planned or was it like a surprise though?
Well, I was married, right? So that way it was planned, right? And then there was not the timing, like, hey, we're going to do it now. And I tell people, it's like when he comes out and the doctor said, this is yours, it's like, oh, this is mine. And there's no return policy. Yeah. Right.
So what would you say was the most challenging, or has been the most challenging part of being a father?
I think being relevant. I think, I remember people said turbo twos. I never ever believed that my son was going to have a turbo two. I just never bought into it. I've always tried to see things through his eyes, because I know I'm older and I'm jaded. So when he uses words, I never try to use my definition all the time of what the words are. And I think we've developed, even though we live separately and people don't see us a lot physically together, I think we're like very close. And so, our conversation, the things that he shares with me, the things that we can talk about, I value. And so there's always like, okay, how do I maintain this? As a Jamaican dad, I just don't remember in my upbringing that there's a lot of dads who are very affectionate and loving to their kids once they're past 9. My son would still have that. He parts on me and wrestle me, and I force him and threaten him for kisses, but it's just this love that we have that, for me, it has become sacred. And so, as he transitioned life, I wonder, how do I keep connected and involved in his life so that he'll know that he has a champion no matter what? Because I always tell him that, there's nothing that I don't need to tell him. I'm already proud of him, whatever he does. My proudness of him is not something that's a credit of something he does. It's just who he has been. I'm just proud of him, period. And so whenever there's a moment of acknowledgement for him to recognize what I see, it's just always, icing on the cake. But, just being relevant and being there and having him know that I'm going to be in his corner no matter what. I think that will be something that I worry about or think about.
That's really, I love that. Like, you're like speaking, you're speaking to what matters to him, right? In a way, like, so that he gets that you value what he values, and
Yes.
and not just trying to, and at the same time, I think that would allow for you to actually really guide and teach him, as opposed to trying to just push things on him all the time, right?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, And you know what you said before, you two are like mirrors of each other. I mean, if he was just a little bigger, I don't know if you'd be able to, if we could tell you apart.
Well, he's looking forward to it because he went on Google and found out that he'll be 6 something, which I'm 5'11". So he's excited if that really works in his favor, right? And there's like measuring up and then the voice, right? And the shoulders trying to step up, pretending like he's not, the facial hair, the hair in different places, telling me to look, to check, which sometimes I can't see, but I guess he sees them. He's sitting next to me. So
That's awesome. I love it. So is there anything that I'm not a father yet, right? So, and I know, it keeps coming up as a theme. Like, it seems like one of the things that for all the fathers I've spoken to today, what really matters to you is how they are, not so much what they do, but how they are, right? So is there anything that stands out for you as a regret?
um, it's a regret for me personally. I sometimes wonder what it would have been like had we not have a divorce, and then my responsibility and role into being divorced, and then living in in dual homes. Like right now, I'm at his home with him and his mom and his stepdad. They're like literally close by here. So I'm happy that we have that. But then, one cannot help but wonder, since that was the original idea that you have kids, you'll stay together and then you'll grow them together, right? So there's like, what moments am I missing? What moments is he missing? What would it look like? And what could I have done differently, if anything else, when I was planning that next stage of my life? So occasionally I don't dwell on it because I know there's nothing I can do about it. And what I do then, one thing that I did say is I wanted him to be free to be with me or his mom or his grandparents, whoever he wants to be, whenever he wants to be, without the fear that he'll upset anybody, right? And
Yeah,
so for me, that's kind of like not a makeup, but that's kind of what got created outside of that. So he feels supported and just feel free. And I think so far that has been working more than it's not.
that's great. I mean, like, I get that, right? Like, it's one of those areas that you wonder.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not, you're not upset about it, but you just wonder if things might have been a little different if it had gone another way.
Yeah, just like if my mom and my dad were together, like what would, so
Yeah,
occasionally the brain goes there, and I think that's normal, but then that's it.
that's great. And then, so to just now to have a little more fun, just flip it. What are you most proud of as a father?
Gosh, there's like so many things. One is my son talking to me. I'm just like proud about that. Like, hey dad, let me tell you something. I'm just like proud of that. Um, I remember going to his school one day. He was changing classes and he had pulled me back to go say hi to a former teacher. And we were walking up a step and we were talking. And for some reason, he disappeared for a little bit. I'm like, checking where he went. And it was like he saw a mom who was going up the stairs with some supplies and he stopped to help her.
Hmm.
And she looked around and she's like, my own son didn't even see me. And, stuff like that. Or whenever it was just me and him, we'll take him to different sports. If he's playing and somebody gets hurt, he doesn't care what the score is, what's going on with the game, where he was. He'll stop until he knows that person is taken care of. And he's very considerate, very caring. So when it comes on to him looking out for people or connecting. I also remember one time I took him to a camp where he knew nobody. It was a friend who told me about the camp. And so I took him, and in like 5 seconds, he was like on the field, interacting with other kids, playing around. I had to stay late because they had to say bye and they're being picked up. So I had to wait for everybody to pick up before I get. So, and if it, one thing also that I'm proud of is, there are conversations that we have where we've set up the precedents, like some things are negotiable and some things aren't.
Okay.
And there's that negotiating conversation, his thought process and what he brings to and how he thinks and process stuff, that really, really, I mean, I could go on. He's a
That's
soccer
dope.
player, so he loves that, and he feels like he's Ronaldo. So he's like a star when he's on the field, and kind of like ego, So yeah,
I mean, I don't know where you could have gotten that from.
you know what? I think osmosis from somewhere.
But I love that. So really like that that he's thoughtful and caring. And then I really like what you said, that you created a line. Like, so there's a lot of things, it sounds like, that are open for discussion and debate and conversations. But then there are some things that are like, no, man, like, I'm your dad, and right now you listen to me on this one.
Yes, and that has worked well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a great, that's like a really, I think children thrive when they have structure and
I
boundaries.
agree. I agree. I agree. And that's something that works well with him. We're not doing this. Here's why we're not doing what we deserve. It's done. So yeah.
So is there any memory that, like, now I know you should have shared a lot of beautiful stuff, but is there any memory that like just stands out, like your proud moment? You're like, oh man, like that's one of the things I'm just most proud of, or just something like that stands out to you?
It wasn't a proud moment. I don't even know what kind of moment it was. And I think he loves when I tell the story. But I remember earlier on, we're transitioning from him having a bottle to like eating. On, this is one of the most embarrassing story, right? Oh yeah. So we're now giving him regular food, and I was home with him alone, and he came over like he was learning to walk, so it's like, oh, pulling off, walking, falling, and I looked over, and he has this thing in his hand that looks like pumpkin, and I'm like, pumpkin, like, where did you get pumpkin from, right? So I'm like looking everywhere, like, where's this pumpkin? Like, it's some really bad pumpkin, right? And I went over to so I came back looking at him, and he just like smudges me across the face. And when I look, it was going down his leg.
Oh
So
no.
it wasn't pumpkin.
That was not pumpkin.
Yeah, it was not pumpkin, right? And it was in my face, right? Uh, you know, and took him to the bathroom and just wash him up, and it was one of those moments where you realize unconditional love. It was like it was like a glimmer of, no matter what shit literally comes your way in this relationship, at the end of the day, there's love, right? And it was just kind of like, playing around. So yeah, that's my most, I don't know if I'm proud of it, most memorable. It was just something that stands out. Yeah.
So what I hear in there is, you're like you said, like you didn't get angry,
No.
right? You didn't like let it take you out of who you are. Like, you stayed in that love for him, and it happened, and oh well, it happened, and that's it.
They say it happens, right? Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happened there, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that's one of the memories that I just never forget.
Craig, what's so present to me is just like how, like, as you I can see, as your mind starts to think about these things, like how much joy being a father brings you.
It does. I think being a dad makes me a better man.
Really?
It is the accountability structure that is consistently reminding me, how am I doing in the world? How do I interact with his mom? At what point is it worth me getting upset and getting positional about something, or do I let it go because of him? I stop myself to think, okay, fine, what am I making this mean, literally, what he says to me? So I get to check in. And when he says, I remember one day I was in the car with him, and he was telling me that there's this girl that he liked. It was like, she likes her because she's nice. And I'm like, what does nice mean? And he's like, oh, she gives me a cut in the line, and she's funny. And I'm like, oh, that's what nice means, right? And I've always used that moment to learn from him, like, what is he saying versus whatever do I think? And that makes me more conscientious and present. Again, it was when his mom was in the military and it was just me and him. It was like getting her, sending her update about school and letting her parents know what's going on and letting my siblings know what's going on. But it was all in service of that he knows he has a community around him and that I am really committed to be the best dad that I could be for him. So he is constantly a reminder for my accountability that way.
So that's so powerful. You just said, like, that's in like that same, to me, same circle of being relevant. Like, so because you're right. Like, if I say nice, that can mean something. It could mean something to somebody else, but you actually got interested in what does it mean to him, nice? Like, okay, so she lets him cut in line. Like, at this point, that's not what but it was really great. You got interested in what that is. So, so what do you say, like, because you're kind of pointing at it, do you see that being a father has had an impact on shaping your life and the direction of your life and the choices you make?
100%, like 100%. Love his mom to death, but if it wasn't for him, I don't think we'd ever be talking right now, it makes me, I'm trying to figure out how to put this in words, like where I would get angry or lose it or cut people off, or I could tell one of myself, like this whole sexting, like sending nudes, like I haven't sent a nude pic. And, not because I'm against it, people do it all the time, but I don't want to have a conversation with him in the future that he doesn't have to do it when I was doing it. But that's just one way that there's an accountability, or I'm now concerned about my finances and what is that going to look like? He's going to be 18 in 5 years and a month, right? So now, is he going to go to school? Is he going to go to college? Like, what financial position do I have to put myself in? I think I'll probably be a bit more nomadic. This is the longest I've been in any place that I've lived. So I probably would have moved to a different state and gone somewhere else, but like being in close proximity in case something happens or I'm needed is important to me. So most everything, the relationship with my mom, it's really, again, looking in his direction, that I'm actually not just saying things, but I'm actually being consistent with my words. And if that wasn't there for me, I don't know who I'd have been today.
Wow. So he's like your anchor in a way. He's like your,
Yes.
or as they call it, like your true north in a way,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Wow. What a lucky kid.
Oh man, I'm a lucky man. I'm like, forever changed and just grateful, our conversations to me when we have them. It's just weird. Like I'm in the bathroom, he just walks in. I'm like, dude, like, I never had that growing up. It's like, oh yeah. He goes, I'm like, you walked in here. It's like, okay, fine. So or he's like, Daddy, you should be a motivational speaker. I'm like, why? He's like, because you're good at it. I'm like, how you know this? I'm your son, duh. And I think when I hear those type of feedback from him, or when I get certain type of feedback from my environment that way, then it somehow confirms. Because I'm always, my friends say you're a legend in your own mind. You sometimes think you're one way, but you're not. But then when those people, like for him, matters to me, say stuff like that, it's like confirming. And I find the energy, the strength to continue to like go down that path. Okay, yeah, something is happening. Something is making a difference.
Listen, if your son's telling you that, that's pretty great, because I don't know, most of the kids, they tend to be a little scarce with the compliments, I find. So
yeah, he told me, he was like, yeah, I'm like, he was like straight up, and I'm like, and I thought he was he calls it prank. I'm like, I thought he was pranking me. I'm like, he's like, and that kind of, kept on asking questions because I wanted to kind of check in and see how and he said that to me. I was just like, okay, all right, yeah.
So Craig, what would you leave, as we kind of wrap this up a little bit, what would you like to leave with as advice or what you would tell to new or expecting fathers? Sorry, did I lose you for a sec?
Yeah, you lost me for a little bit. Say that again.
What would you share, or do you have anything that you would share with new or expecting fathers?
Yes. And I think what I would give them is what I got from, I remember one of my friends, he says, do things in the best interest of your son. Don't do things in your best interest or your son. I'm not saying that's not important, but when I got that, so when his mom came back from the military and we lived together, and there was a decision now, does he stay with me full time or full time with his mom, right? And I was vested that, he was going to be with me. And he's like, well, I want to go be with my mom, right? And I'm like, right. And my friend's like, do what would be in his best interest. So I had to navigate that. And it didn't make, didn't blame him, or his mom. Like, this was what he wanted to do right now. And I'm going to stand for it. And especially, we're talking about race. And in our culture, I think there's some parents who can hold their kids hostage to blame another parent or use a child as a weapon. I'll just say, don't do that. Just don't do that. Allow your child the freedom. Whatever got done or didn't get done in your relationship had nothing to do with your child. I would say, do not use your child as a bargaining. A friend of mine recently just really was hard for me to hear. He says, I don't like my son's mom. And so as a result, whenever I see my son, I get upset. I get resentful towards my son. And that breaks my heart, given what I know. Like, not like I know like what a relationship could, but based on the relationship I have with my son, I wouldn't trade it for the world. The openness, the intimacy, the authenticity. And so I would say, don't use the relationship that didn't go well to actually punish the child. And, just always try to figure out, let's forget about yourself. This life never asked to be here. Never. You did that. So, like whatever you have to do, give up your right if you have to sometimes of a fight, turn the other cheek sometimes, be the bad guy if you have to be, well, your dad says you're whatever. I tell my son that all the time. He said, I, this thing I love, I said, my love for you does not require your participation.
Wow.
That's something I heard. I'm like, you don't ever have to love me. It would be a great thing for you to love me, but you don't have to. But I can promise you, I'll always love you. I'll always look out for your best interest. And so when I have to make a tough decision, I don't mind being the bad guy because I'm looking for a future. I'm not going to be here forever. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I want to know whatever time I'm here that I make the difference. So I invite every dad to look, what are you going to do? What is the legacy that you're leaving? And is it worth, being right or wrong about something to not be able to give that legacy? So that's what I would say.
Wow, Craig. I could take that on even without being a father, just really, getting myself out of the way sometimes. Like, one of the other fathers I interviewed today, he said, don't let the kid be punished because you don't have a good relationship with his mom or somebody in his life anymore.
Yeah. Too many kids are suffering for that. And they weren't even there when it started.
It's like you said, they didn't ask this. You brought this life into this world. They didn't ask to be brought into this world.
Yeah.
That's wow.
And I remember so his mom was just gone. I'll share this. And it was just me and him, and there was stuff going on at school, and his grades were suffering at one point. And I could remember my Jamaican dadness comes up like, oh, he's not doing well in school. I'm going to whoop, And I just remember, just looking like, okay, so if this wasn't about me and it was about him, how would this go down differently? And what I noticed was I was reviewing his assignment on Friday. He started to like bathe him and make breakfast and get him to school and feed him dinner and then get him to bed. So I was just kind of like flustered. So Friday, whether it gets done or not, I didn't care. And I'd pressure him and then whatever the grades are. And when I said, what if this was about him and what he needed? And I saw if I look at his homework on Wednesday and Friday, that would have made the biggest difference because it wouldn't be as frustrating anymore. And guess what? It literally changed his grade. There was no beating him up. There was no whooping him. It was just like, because it wasn't about me. So stop making it be so much about me, and have it be about the kid.
Wow. I couldn't complete on a better note, Craig. I mean, listen, thank you for sharing all of that and being so authentic with it all. From me to you, I'd say I think your son is very lucky. I know you said you're the lucky one, but it's
I got it.
Father's Day.
I
So
got that.
you get
I
to
got
be
it.
acknowledged today. And I hope this call has been an acknowledgement and allowed you to get connected with, you know, what it means to be a father and who you are as a father.
It does. So thank you for the opportunity. As I said, I'm by his mom's house with his stepdad and him. So, you know, this just really ensured that I wasn't telling any lies and that this
No,
is
it's
possible
beautiful.
in and of itself. You know, I'm at the other, you know, man's house with, you know, so that's just a testimony of what's possible. So thank you. All the fathers who are watching it, happy Father's Day. Being a father makes a difference. And so I just encourage you to continue to be responsible for being a father.
Yeah. It's a gift.
Yeah, it is.
Craig, I love you, man.
I love you,
Been
buddy.
so
Thank you
great
for
to meet you.
thank you for thinking of me and for the opportunity.
It's a blessing to have you here with us. Are you kidding?
Thanks, buddy.
We'll talk to you soon, Craig. Happy
All right, talk
Father's
to you
Day.
soon.
Happy Father's Weekend.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.